"Please, they took my mom," she said. Those 4 words pulled a biker into a hidden world where people are treated as property. To save her, he must fight a war where the weapons are contracts and the most dangerous men wear suits. If you're new here, subscribe and comment your location. Now let's begin. The rain was just starting to fall when Deacon saw her. He was leaving the diner, pulling on his leather gloves. A small figure was huddled under the bus stop awning, soaked and shivering. She was maybe 6 years old. Her name, he would learn, was Lily. She looked right at him, her eyes huge and scared. He was a big man, covered in tattoos, with a patch on his back that made most people look away. But she ran to him. She grabbed the wet leather of his jacket. "Mister, please," she whispered, her voice cracking. "They took my mom." Deacon stopped. He looked around the empty street. "Who took her, kid?" "Men in suits. They said it was time. They put her in a black car. She told me to run to the diner and wait, but you're the only one who came out." Lily started to cry. "Please, you look like you can help." Deacon's mind raced. This wasn't his business. Kids got scared, moms left. But the men in suits part pinged in his brain. It didn't sound like a typical grab by a rival club. That was messy, loud. Suits were different. He sighed, a heavy sound. "Get on." He nodded to his bike. He took her back to the clubhouse, a low-slung warehouse called the Sanctum. The place was busy. His brother, Mark, was at the bar with Paul. They looked up as Deacon walked in, holding a little girl's hand. "I'm not even gonna ask," Mark said, raising an eyebrow. "Her mom's gone, says men in suits took her from their apartment over on Cedar," Deacon said. "Name's Lily." Mercy, who helped run the place, came over. Her tough face softened. "Oh, honey, come with me. Let's get you dry." She led the shivering girl away. Deacon told Mark and Paul what little he knew. "It feels off," he said. "Professional, not our kind of problem." Mark grunted. "But the kid came to you. That makes it our problem. Check it out, quietly." Deacon and Paul rode to the apartment on Cedar. It was a nice building, too nice for the usual drama. The door was unlocked. The place was clean, tidy, too tidy. It looked like someone had packed in a hurry, but carefully, no signs of a struggle. On the fridge was a child's drawing of a woman with red hair, labeled Mommy. Next to it, a business card was held by a magnet. The card was plain white. It said only Axiom Asset Management and a phone number. "Asset management," Paul said, frowning. "What does that mean?" Deacon's phone rang. It was Mercy back at the clubhouse. "Deacon, you need to come back. Lily told me her mom's name. It's Elena." Deacon knew that name. Everyone in the underground knew that name, but no one knew her face. Elena was a ghost, the best money cleaner in the city. She could make $1 million in drug money look like a real estate profit. She was a legend, and she had a daughter. "Elena works for the Bianchi family," Paul whispered. "If they took her." "Bianchi's men don't wear suits. They wear tracksuits," Deacon said. "This is something else." Back at the Sanctum, they gathered. James was there now, and David the lawyer. Lily was asleep on a cot in Mercy's office. "If it's Axiom, you're in deep water," David said, looking at the card. "They're new, corporate. They don't run guns or drugs. They trade in debt. They buy up what people owe to loan sharks, to casinos, to other syndicates, and they enforce the contracts. Legally, half their staff are actual lawyers." "So Elena owed someone money?" Deacon asked. "More likely," David said. "She was the money. Her talent was her value. My guess, she worked for Bianchi to pay off a debt. Axiom bought that debt from Bianchi. Now she works for them. It's all perfectly legal on paper, a transfer of contract labor." Deacon felt sick. They repossessed a person. "They recovered an asset," David corrected, his voice grim. "To them, she's a sentient supercomputer for moving money. Finding her won't be a raid on a warehouse. It'll be an office building." Deacon stood up. "Then I'll go to an office building." It took 2 days of digging. Axiom's headquarters was a shiny glass tower in the financial district. Deacon couldn't just walk in, but he had an idea. He needed someone who looked like they belonged. He called Rita, James's wife. She was a teacher, but she had a smart, professional look. He explained the situation. I just need you to walk in, get a feel for the security, the layout, maybe see a directory, that's it." Rita agreed. The next morning, dressed in a sharp blazer, she walked into the Axiom lobby. It was all cool marble and quiet. The security desk was serious. She pretended to be looking for a fictional business seminar, glanced at the building directory. She saw it, Axiom Asset Management, floors 24-26. She also saw the keycard readers on the elevator banks. She reported back, "It's a fortress, Deacon. You're not getting up there without an appointment or a keycard." While Deacon wrestled with that, Lily was at the clubhouse. She followed Mercy around. The big, tough bikers tried to act normal. Paul, the scariest looking of them all, tried to make her a peanut butter sandwich. He used a whole jar. It was a huge, messy mountain on a plate. Lily giggled for the first time. "That's too much," she said. Paul blushed. "You said you were hungry." It was a light moment in the dark. Deacon knew he needed inside help. He reached out to his contacts. He found a disgruntled IT guy who had done some work for Axiom. The man was afraid, but money talked. For a large cash payment, he gave Deacon a keycard clone and a floor plan. "The 26th floor," the IT guy said. "That's the secure wing. That's where the special assets work. The doors are bulletproof glass. Inside, it's all open plan, but there are private offices at the back. She'll be there. She'll have guards, not muscle guards. Tech guards, everything is watched." The plan was simple and dangerous. Deacon would go in alone, in a suit he borrowed from David. He would use the cloned keycard to get to the 26th floor. His goal was not to shoot his way out. It was to see Alina, to understand her cage. The next day, Deacon walked into the tower. He felt wrong in the suit. He used the keycard at the elevator. It beeped green. The ride to the 26th floor was silent. The doors opened onto a nightmare. It was a beautiful, quiet, modern office, soft lighting, expensive art, but the windows were sealed shut. The doors at the far end were thick glass, and at every desk, people worked on computers. Their faces were blank. They didn't talk. Security cameras covered every inch. A polite but cold receptionist looked up. "Can I help you, sir?" "I have a meeting with Ms. Alina," Deacon said, using the name the IT guy gave him. The receptionist checked her screen. "I don't see that. Who are you with?" Deacon saw his chance. He saw a name on a nearby office door, "Mr. Sterling." He said, "Sterling sent me for the quarterly review." The receptionist hesitated, then nodded. She pressed a button. The glass door at the back unlocked with a click. "Third office on the left." Deacon walked through the quiet room. He felt everyone's eyes on him, but no one looked up from their screens. He found the office. The door was open. Inside, a woman with red hair was staring at 3 computer monitors. Her fingers flew across the keyboard. She was beautiful, but pale, like she hadn't seen the sun in months. She had Lily's eyes. "Alina," Deacon said softly. She jumped, her hand going to a small panic button on her desk. She stared at him, at the suit that didn't fit him, at the tattoos on his neck. "Who are you? How did you get in here?" "Lily sent me." At the mention of her daughter's name, Alina's tough mask cracked. A wave of pain and fear crossed her face. She quickly looked at a camera in the corner of the room, then back at him. "You have to leave. Now, if they see you talking to me." "I'm not leaving without you. Your daughter is safe. She's with my family." Alina shook her head, her eyes desperate. "You don't understand. I can't leave. It's not a lock. It's a contract. I owe Axiom $9,400,000. Every day I work, the debt goes down a little. If I leave, I breach the contract. They will sue me into oblivion. They will take Lily as a dependent asset. They will win. They always win." "So we break the contract," Deacon said. "You can't, it's ironclad. It was reviewed by 100 lawyers. I signed it. I was desperate. My husband was sick. The medical debt, Bianchi offered a way out. Then Axiom bought the debt. They own me, Deacon." She knew his name. She knew who he was. She had probably laundered money for his rivals. "There's always a weakness," Deacon said. "Always." Just then, the door opened. A man in an expensive gray suit walked in. He was in his 40s, clean-cut, with a calm smile. "Mr. Sterling." "I see we have a guest," Sterling said. He wasn't scared, he was amused. "Deacon, right? president of the Sacred Heart Charter. We did a background check the moment you walked in. You're not a client. This is trespass and attempted inducement of breach of contract." Deacon turned, his body tense. "She's coming with me." Sterling laughed. It was a dry, papery sound. "Or what? You'll hit me? Go ahead. The cameras are recording. Assault in a place of business. We'll own your clubhouse by the end of the month. That's how this works. We are the system you outlaws pretend to fight." Deacon saw the trap. Violence here was a gift to them. He clenched his fists. "Leave, Deacon," Elena pleaded, her voice a whisper. "For Lily, just go." Sterling gestured to the door. "The police are already on their way for the trespass. I suggest you're gone before they arrive. And don't think of coming back. Next time we litigate, we'll take the child for her own stability. We have the paperwork ready." Defeated, burning with a cold fury, Deacon walked out. He rode back to the sanctum feeling emptier than ever. He had found her cage, and it was stronger than any prison he knew how to break. Back at the clubhouse, he told everyone what happened. The room was silent. How do you fight an enemy that wants you to throw a punch? David, the lawyer, spoke first. "We need to find a flaw in the contract. Axiom is new. They're greedy. Greedy people make mistakes. We need their own paperwork." "How?" Mark asked. "We need someone on the inside," James said. "Not to grab her, to grab files." Rita, who had been listening, spoke up. "I could get a job there. I have a clean record, a teaching degree. I could apply for an admin position." It was a huge risk, but it was the only play. Rita's application to Axiom was a nerve-wracking process. David helped her craft a fake resume, highlighting office skills but leaving her teaching history vague. She used the name Jessica Miller. A week later, she got a call for an interview. Deacon drove her to the glass tower, his jaw tight with tension. "You don't have to do this," he said, for the 10th time. "Lily deserves her mom back," Rita said simply, "and James would want me to help." She smoothed her skirt and walked inside. The interview was for a junior administrative assistant on the 20th floor, not the secure 26th, but it was a foot in the door. The woman interviewing her was named Stella. She was sharp, with tired eyes. "Why do you want to work at Axiom, Jessica?" Stella asked. "Stability," Rita said, sounding believable. "I'm good with systems. I like things being in order." She got the job. She started 2 days later. Her first task was boring, filing digital invoices, but it gave her access to the internal network. On her first coffee break, she memorized the security badge colors. Blue badges like hers worked on floors 2023. Yellow badges were for IT and maintenance. Red badges, she saw only once, were for the secure floors 24-26. She reported back every night. "The place is a ghost town of people," she told the club in the sanctum. "Everyone is quiet. Everyone looks tired. The security guards don't look tough, but they watch everything, and there are cameras everywhere." Meanwhile, Deacon was spending time with Lily and with Elena in a strange new way. He couldn't visit her in person again, but David, using his legal credentials, managed to set up a series of client meetings with Axiom. He brought Deacon as a financial consultant for a fictional business. It was thin, but it worked for short visits. In Sterling's sterile conference room, Deacon would sit across from Elena. Sterling or another manager was always present. They talked in code. Deacon would ask about account management. Elena would answer with numbers that meant nothing, but her eyes told a different story. They were full of fear, but also a growing spark of hope. During one meeting, as Sterling stepped out to take a call, Elena quickly slid a note across the table. Deacon palmed it. Outside, he read it. It was a string of numbers. Server access code, backup drive, floor 25, IT storage room, yellow badge only. They needed a yellow badge. Rita couldn't get one. She was blue badge. They needed to get one from a real IT worker. Paul had an idea. He knew a guy who knew a guy. The next day, an Axiom IT employee named Leo walked into his favorite bar after work. He was a nervous man. He liked to have one drink to forget his job. That night, a very large, friendly biker named Paul sat next to him. Paul bought him a drink, then another. They talked about computers. Paul pretended to know nothing, which made Leo feel smart. Leo complained about his bosses at Axiom. They treat us like robots, Leo said, always watching the red floor people. They're the worst, like ghosts. By the third drink, Leo was unsteady. Paul helped him get some air out the back door. In the alley, James was waiting. James was gentle but firm. He didn't threaten Leo. He explained, "We're not going to hurt you. We need to borrow your badge for one night. A woman is being held in there against her will. Her little girl is waiting. We just need to copy some files to prove it." Leo was terrified, but the mention of a little girl made him pause. "Elena," he whispered, "the redhead on 26. I've seen her. She looks so sad." "Yes," James said. Leo, drunk and morally conflicted, finally agreed. For a payment of $5,000 in cash, he would leave his yellow badge in a planter by the back door the next night at exactly 7:15 p.m. when he left work. He would report it lost the next morning. They had one night. The plan was set. Rita would stay late, pretending to work. At 7:30 p.m., she would go to the women's bathroom on the 25th floor, the IT floor. Deacon and James would enter using Leo's badge. They would meet her there. She would take the yellow badge and go to the IT storage room to find the backup drive. Deacon and James would stand watch. The night came. Rita's heart pounded as she took the elevator to 25. The floor was quiet, mostly dark. She waited in the bathroom. At 7:32, the door opened. It was Deacon and James. They looked huge and out of place in their dark clothes. Deacon handed her the yellow badge. "You sure you can do this?" he asked, his voice low. Rita nodded. She put the badge on and walked out, trying to look like she belonged. The hall was empty. She found the storage room. The badge unlocked the door. Inside, it was a maze of shelves with old computers and hard drives. She had the code from Elena's note, B1742. She found the aisle B, shelf 17, there, box 42. It was a plain black box. She opened it. Inside was a single, heavy external hard drive. She grabbed it and put it in her large purse. Just as she turned to leave, she heard voices outside the door. 2 security guards were walking down the hall. "Check the storage room, routine," one said. Rita froze. She looked around. There was no other door. She ducked behind a tall shelf, holding her breath. The door opened. The light flicked on. She could see the shadows of the guards through the shelves. They walked slowly down the main aisle. One of them stopped, just a few feet from her hiding spot. "Smell that," the guard said. "Perfume." Rita's blood went cold. She had worn perfume that morning. The other guard laughed. "You're imagining things, Mike. This place smells like dust and plastic. Come on, let's finish the round." The guards walked out, turning off the light. The door clicked shut. Rita waited a full minute in the dark, shaking. Then she slipped out and hurried back to the bathroom. Deacon and James were there, looking tense. "Got it?" Deacon asked. She held up the purse. They moved fast. They took the stairs down 5 flights to the 20th floor, then used Rita's blue badge to call the elevator. They walked out of the building like nothing was wrong. Back at the sanctum, they hooked the hard drive to a computer. David was there. They searched the files. It was a mess of data, old accounts, backups. Then they found a folder labeled Asset Contracts Active. Inside, a file, Elena M. Debt Equity Agreement. David opened it. They all read it. It was a monster of legal language, but David's eyes scanned it quickly. He pointed to a paragraph. "Here," he said, "Clause 14b, the term of service shall be rendered at a location solely designated by Axiom Management. But look at this amendment at the bottom. It's an addendum, signed later." They read the addendum. It was a modification. It said, "For the duration of Q3 and Q4, services may be rendered from a secondary location subject to same security protocols for client Bianchi convenience." David smiled. It was a cold lawyer smile. Sterling moved her. When Axiom bought her contract from Bianchi 6 months ago, they moved her to their offices. But this addendum allows for a secondary location for Bianchi's convenience. Bianchi doesn't own her contract anymore. Axiom does. By moving her to their primary office and not a secondary location, they might have technically violated their own contract modification. "Might have," Deacon growled. "It's a gray area. But in contract law, gray areas are where cases are won or lost. If we can argue they breached first by not adhering to the location terms, we can challenge the enforceability. It's a thread, a tiny thread. How do we pull it? Mark asked. We don't, David said. We use it as leverage. We force a buyout. The next day, David walked into Axiom alone, asking for Sterling. He was shown into the office. Deacon waited outside in the car, listening through a phone in David's pocket. Mr. Sterling, David said, I represent interested parties in the matter of the asset Alina M. We have reason to believe your enforcement of Contract Clause 14b, specifically regarding the location addendum, is materially deficient. A challenge in court would be messy and public. Axiom's reputation relies on its ironclad legality. A public fight over what looks like a slave contract is bad for business. Sterling's voice was cool. We are fully compliant. The addendum is irrelevant. She is an employee. A court will decide if an employee can be sued for $9 million if she quits, David said. But we're not here to litigate. We are here to make an offer. We will buy her contract for $1. Sterling laughed. Absurd. Hear me out, David said. You bought her debt from Bianchi for what, $2 million? You've had 6 months of her work. She's likely laundered $50 million for you in that time. Your profit is enormous. Keeping her now is about pride, not money. But if we go public with this, with the little girl, with the story, your other assets might get ideas. Your investors might get nervous. Take the dollar, write it off as a minor settlement. You win. You got her best work for cheap. There was a long silence. Then Sterling said, $100,000. $1, David repeated, and we sign a mutual non-disclosure agreement. No one ever hears about this. It disappears. Or we take our thread and start pulling in front of a judge. Your choice. Deacon held his breath. This was the moment. You have a deal, lawyer, Sterling said, his voice tight with anger. Draw up the papers. She walks out when we sign. And your clients stay away from my business forever. Agreed. The signing was set for 2 days later. They would meet at a neutral place, David's law office. The night before the signing, Deacon had one last client meeting with Alina. Sterling was there, but he was cold and silent. When the meeting ended, as Alina stood to leave, she looked at Deacon. Her eyes were full of tears. But she smiled. It was a small, brave smile. Deacon felt something shift in his chest, a deep, protective feeling that was more than just about saving someone in trouble. The day of the signing arrived. David's office was quiet. Deacon, Mark, and James waited in the next room. Sterling arrived with 2 other suits. Alina came with them. She looked pale, wearing simple clothes. She carried nothing. The papers were on the table. David explained each one. The contract buyout for $1. The NDA. Alina signed her name with a hand that shook slightly. Sterling signed his with a sharp scratch of the pen. It was done. Sterling stood up. She's your problem now. Remember our agreement. He and his men left without another look. Alina stood in the middle of the room, swaying. She was free. It didn't feel real. Deacon walked out from the other room. She saw him and the dam broke. She started to cry, deep, shaking sobs. He didn't know what to do, so he just opened his arms. She walked into them and buried her face in his chest, holding onto his leather cut like it was a life raft. He held her carefully, feeling her shake. It was a charged, emotional moment, full of relief and the beginning of something new. They took her straight to the sanctum. Mercy had brought Lily from the back room. The little girl saw her mom and screamed, "Mommy!" She ran across the room. Alina dropped to her knees and caught her, squeezing her tight, crying and laughing. The whole club watched, tough men looking away, clearing their throats, pretending not to be moved. It was a happy ending, but it wasn't the end. Alina and Lily needed a safe place. The club owned a few apartments. They put her in one close by. Deacon checked on them every day. At first, it was just to make sure they were okay. Then it became a habit. He'd bring groceries. He'd fix a leaky faucet. He'd sit on the couch while Lily showed him her drawings. Alina was slowly coming back to life. The color returned to her face. She laughed more. One evening, Deacon was over. Lily was asleep. Alina made coffee. They sat at the small kitchen table. "Thank you," she said, for the 100th time. For everything, for not giving up. You're one of us now, Deacon said. That's what we do. She looked at him, really looked at him. Is that all it is? Club business? Deacon held her gaze. His heart was pounding. No, he said, his voice rough. It's not. He reached across the table and took her hand. Her fingers were slim and soft against his rough, calloused palm. The air between them crackled with a slow, building heat. It was an 18+ tension, full of unspoken promises and the weight of all they'd been through. He saw her breath catch. She turned her hand over, lacing her fingers with his. It was a simple touch, but it felt huge. I'm not a safe man, Elena, he said, repeating the old warning. I'm not looking for safe, she whispered. I'm looking for real. He stood up, pulling her gently to her feet. He cupped her face in his hands and kissed her. It was not a gentle kiss. It was hungry, full of pent-up fear and hope and desire. She kissed him back just as fiercely, her hands gripping his arms. When they finally broke apart, they were both breathing hard. Stay, she whispered. And he did. Life moved on. The club's empire continued. Their businesses, legal and otherwise, ran smoothly. Elena, with her skills, started doing the books for their legitimate businesses, the bike shop, the bar. She did it cleanly, legally, making their money look better than ever. She was an asset, but now she was a willing one, part of the family. James and Rita grew stronger. The undercover job had scared James, but it made him love his wife even more. They talked about having their own kids soon. But Sterling was not a man who forgot. He couldn't break the NDA, but he could make trouble in other ways. He started using his connections to put pressure on the club's legitimate fronts. Health inspections failed suddenly. License renewals were delayed. It was a cold war of paperwork and nuisance. The club had to be smarter. They used Elena's knowledge of the financial world to set up better shields. They fought back with their own lawyers. It was a grind. One night, months later, Deacon and Elena were in her apartment. Lily was at a sleepover at Mercy's. They were on the couch, close. The chemistry between them was always there, a constant low hum. He nuzzled her neck, his hands roaming. She arched into his touch, her fingers in his hair. Clothes began to come off slowly. It was passionate, intense, but filled with a tenderness that was new for Deacon. Afterwards, they lay together in the dark. Sterling won't stop, she said quietly. He'll keep chipping away. I know, Deacon said. We'll handle it. I have an idea, Elena said, but it's risky, and it uses my old skills. Deacon propped himself up on an elbow. What idea? Axiom is clean on the surface, but to move that much money, there has to be a crack, a back door. When I worked there, I saw hints, transactions that were a little too perfect. I think they're laundering for someone even bigger, someone even they're afraid of. If we can find that crack, we can give Sterling a problem so big, he forgets about us. It was a dangerous game, going after Axiom again, but playing defense forever was exhausting. Deacon talked to Mark. The club voted. They decided to support Elena's plan. She would dig from the outside, using her knowledge and the club's network of hackers. It took weeks. Elena worked late into the night on a secure computer. She followed digital trails. She found shell companies. She found money flowing from Axiom to an offshore bank, and then to a numbered company that her gut told her was linked to a brutal Eastern European syndicate. She had found it. Axiom was cleaning money for the Volkov Group, and the Volkov Group did not like attention. Deacon didn't make a threat. He simply had David send a package to Sterling's home. It contained no note, just a printout of the transaction trail Elena had uncovered, with the Volkov company name highlighted in yellow. The message was clear: we know your secret. Back off, or we send this to the Volkovs and tell them you're the leak. The nuisance inspections stopped the next week. The license renewals came through. The Cold War was over. Sterling had gotten the message. The club had won, not with guns, but with information, the very currency Axiom dealt in. At the next club party, there was a real sense of victory. Elena was by Deacon's side, accepted fully. Lily ran around with other kids from the club families. Music played. Paul made his famous, terrible peanut butter sandwiches for everyone. Mark stood to make a toast. He raised his beer. To family, he said. the one you're born with and the one you choose, and to proving that our kind of strength works in any world. Everyone cheered. Later, under the stars, Deacon held Elena close. "You're not an asset anymore," he said. "I know," she smiled. "I'm your accountant." He laughed, a real, deep laugh. Then he kissed her. It was a kiss that held the past and the future, the little girl at the bus stop, the sterile office, the legal fight, the dangerous gamble, and the quiet nights together. It was all in that kiss. The club's empire was secure. Their family was bigger, and they had learned a new rule. Sometimes the most powerful weapon isn't a fist or a gun. Sometimes it's a little girl's courage, a lawyer's words, a mother's love, and a single, unbreakable thread of truth. Thank you for watching. What would you do if a child begged you for help? Could you outsmart an enemy that fights with legal paperwork instead of guns? Subscribe and tell us where you're watching from. Would you have taken the deal for $1?